So, hello everybody. After many technical problems today, to the lecture Global Economics. Well, we were just at the point that I wanted to show you for an example with Germany, yeah, how to get the money and in the first shot to how to interpret in the first time the diagrams you get from economic growth or inflation or unemployment and so on. So we started with economic growth, and yes, for this I also open the Excel file, global economics and data, inflation, yeah. Oh, then we will download the numbers. Okay, so we started with economic growth, and that you should be careful when you are averaging here to get some statement about what would be the long run average growth. So be careful while averaging, averaging oh, growth rates. Yeah, and then, well, you could maybe identify some long run trend. How to calculate these long run trends? Well, this you can do by averaging, and if we will see next week what you should do also in your time purpose, doing some time series analysis with Okun's law, there's then also a possibility to extract from this analysis a long-term trend in GDP growth. Yeah, then we had the inflation rates, and yeah, I showed you when we have downloaded the data from here, source Bundesbank, also of course for your countries. Central banks would be a good source to get the data, but also I will show you then the data mapper at IMF and so on, where you can get the data. And yeah, for Germany, when we have looked at inflation, we saw here the financial crisis and that prices went down. Well, and this is not very surprisingly, because if demand is going down, that also prices will fall or not rise that much than in normal times is also what we anticipate. Also, then we had in Germany here these long time with prices or inflation below target of 2%, and this you can also look up then for your country, where is the target of inflation of the central bank. You will mostly find, and then you can compare this target with where the prices were in the last time, and then we have this dramatic increase of inflation. Well, and we are all talking about this issue, and for this you maybe have then also some interpretation. Well, then let's go further, and then we are going to unemployment. Well, here I always had the link behind the source. So again, hopefully it opens now. Yes. And then I put it in a way that you can see it. So statistics, and then let's see unemployment. So this is monthly. So these are the unemployment numbers for Germany. Then let's download it. Unemployment, and these are the absolute numbers. And I think we also directly find here. Oh, now it's going back. This is absolute numbers, and I think this one here will be the relative numbers. No. Up. Quota. So these are then in percentage. And of course, the percentage number is maybe the more interesting, because then also you can compare internationally and not only the absolute number. But also what is also interesting, if you yeah, take other demographic numbers, population, or then population in between 15 years and 65 years in your country. This is then maybe the number which can work. And if you compare then this number with the absolute number, then you have also a feeling, is this a high absolute number or not? But of course, the unemployment rate is also an interesting number for you to have a look at. So we download this too. And this is then unemployment, and this is the rate. So hold on. Again, now I have to be careful that you also. Oh, where did I download it? Somewhere else, I think. Oh, in macro. So this was the wrong folder. Then let's go to the macro course, lecture, data, and here we have it. And back to global economics, lecture and data. And now, absolute number. It's not here, it's opening. No, okay. So from 1990, then let's just manipulate it like this. And this is unemployment, absolute. Oh, this you don't see anymore. Here we are. So I marked it, and Now let's look at it in a diagram, and then we only wanted to have from 2008. So maybe I show this to you also. You can, yeah, do it here just with the mouse, or go to the number starting 2008 is 219. You see here, here it is here, and then right click, data, and then you can change here the number to 219, and of course at the time scale you also have to change the number to 219, and then we have our diagram. And then in order to see a little bit more, we go down here to 2 million on the vertical axis. This you don't see now. So here, put just 2 million. Oh, this didn't work. Why? Again. Axis. Why didn't it work? This should work. Always something new. So I changed this. 3.8. Now, no. So I'm a little bit puzzled because I changed the numbers and my diagram is not changing. This is quite funny. So I think since my diagram crashed now here, this is due to the performance of my processor. That he is not that fast recording, zooming, and manipulating the diagram. So then let's try it that I save this file, close it, and then let's reopen it. And hopefully if this file loads again, that now it even hasn't saved the diagram. So let's try it again. I'm sorry. this is Hetzeft, but not the diagram. Again. And oh, at first 219 we need. And now 219. And now let's try to manipulate the vertical axis. This does not seem very good because you see here that I still have a 6 million. But this 6 million comes from when I had the data from 1990. So let's try it, but I don't know if it works. Now it worked. Okay. So then let's go to our presentation, and this are now unemployment in absolute terms, and let's do it also for the rate. Unemployment rate. This you again don't see. So let's go there. And now it do it with the mouse. Two thousand 8 we want to start. This you see now, good. And here's our rate, and then let's go down to 4%. And also in this case, please think that you write the right things on the axis. First time it was absolute numbers, then it's okay. But here, of course, we have to put on the vertical axis percentage rate. Yeah, and then we can interpret these numbers. Let's do it. Maybe you remember it from the macro course. Well, we have this downturn, both that these numbers are going have the and parallel pattern is not very surprisingly. Um, so then you can say that more or less during this time, Germany or German economy quite prosperous. Well, here at the beginning, this is very surprisingly that in 2008, 9, unemployment has not going up very much. Well, we had a deep crisis with minus 5% economic growth rate, so we had a deep downturn in the whole economy, and yeah, we have only a very little rise here in unemployment, almost nothing. And if you see then something like this in your country, then you have also to wonder what is the reason. Well, almost no rise during financial crisis. Well, and then the explanation is just, well, there was unemployment, but you don't see it in the numbers. And this was due to short work. We just defined the people not to be unemployed. So the companies could say, well, we are going to short work, and then the people were formally still employed, but they didn't work. And we paid as a whole for these people. They got, I think, about 70% of their wages during these times. Well, and then, fortunately, the economy came back quite fast in Germany in summer, end of 2009, and then these people restarted to work. Well, then, of course, here you have Corona, and again, compared with the economic downturn in Corona, this is really only a very small increase of unemployment. And again, the reason was the short work, and at the peak of Corona, we had in Germany about 7 million people in short work. And maybe you find some similar things for your countries. And then, of course, please interpret here the actual movement of your indicators. Maybe there's also something special in your countries. Okay, what else? It's now only 15 minutes left. Let's see. Exports and imports I wanted to do with you. And exchange rate, interest rates, I wanted to talk with you, and I think that more or less was it. Oh, this is 2 times interest rates and key interest rates. Yeah, let's see. So exports and imports, this is from the national account statistics. This we already had downloaded if I remember it right. Yes, this is this one. And then this we find in the distribution of the GDP. And here we have, do you see this? Yeah, on the right, exports and no, more to the right, that you can see the numbers here. So then we want to start also at 2008. So let's just take these numbers here. That was too much. Exports and imports. I just put it here in this part of the unemployment rate. Numbers in billion, and also the dates. Where it was there. Up. These are exports and imports. Let's also have a look at it. X plus imports and then on the vertical axis we have billion euros. So then you also know that you have nominal numbers here, and please be careful that you always, as I already mentioned it, the right units on your diagrams. Well, then what can we see? Well, for Germany, and this will be not looking always the same as for you countries, but for Germany, for example, we always see that mostly during the time that exports are much larger than imports. I think you will also have one or two countries where you have an trade deficit, and this is also what you can interpret in general. Have you a trade deficit? Have you a trade surplus like Germany, or is it more or less balanced in your country? Again, here, financial crisis, Corona crisis, and what we also can say for Germany that more or less, yeah, the gap between exports and imports becomes narrower. during the within the last 2, 3 years. So this is a new, more or less a new situation. If we compare this with the pre-corona time, and also here we have during 22 more or less exports equal imports. Do you have an idea what the reason is that we have half a year or almost a year with that in Germany exports not anymore higher, but that they are more or less we have a balanced trade balance. Yeah, an idea? Yeah. Yes, of course. Energy was really, really really, really expensive, and we have to import. Now, not the cheap energy from Russia. We have to buy on the world markets at very high prices, and this is then the energy crisis. Yeah, and this would be something you can also find here, looking at the trade pattern. Maybe you can have also a look what are my most important trade partners. What happens there? I think somebody has Japan. There, of course, a look at China. The dependence between China and Japan is really is quite interesting. Yeah, something like this. So exchange rate. Well, there's at least some problem for Germany because we don't have an own currency anymore. So we have to have a look at the euro, and yeah, mainly then, of course, the exchange rate relative to the US dollar will be at as a starting point interesting for you. But then, of course, you can have also a look if there is one main trade partner which is not the United States. Then it would be also interesting if you have a look at the single exchange rate of the main trade partner and your country. But here I will just take the US dollar and let's download. This is daily. Yeah, of course, mainly you will find somewhere daily data for your exchange rates. So this is then exchange rate. And now I go directly to Global Economics. There it is. And yeah, here sometimes you have the problem that on weekends there is no fixing in the exchange rate. And therefore you see that here some data is missing. So then euro US dollar. And for this, well, if you then directly want to create a diagram and there's some data missing, then sometimes you have a problem when there is something. Oh, you don't see this, sorry. Here you see that the data is missing at this part. So this 1st of January, well, there we don't work. And I think then second and third was a weekend in 99. And here you have just a point in your data. And then sometimes if I would directly create a diagram, then the software doesn't know what should I do with a point. And well, then just mark everything, right click, no, not right click, but I think Control H is it? Yeah, and then we can say put all these dots out of my file. And then let's have a look where the exchange rate was moving in the last years. There we have it. And again, 2008 we will take. 2008 here. Oh, too fast. Is then around, we are here, 3,298. 3,098 and time scale 2, 3,298. So here's my diagram. Should be number here. There it is. Yeah, and there, since financial crisis, more or less, we could say that in general, the exchange rate was going down for euro. So we have a depreciation of the euro relative to the US dollar. So in general, depreciation of euro versus US dollar. Yeah, maybe then you find for your country, if you have something similar, what could be the reason? Well, and if we then look at the performance of these both largest, more or less largest, well, China is now as large as the European Monetary Union. Um, what is the reason for this downturn in the exchange rate? And then you see that the performance after the financial crisis of the United States was a little bit better than the performance of the European Monetary Union. Well, and this has done is then the implication if you have a stronger economy, that also the currency will be stronger. So maybe we can say that during the last 15 years, the economic performance of USA was better than of the European Monetary Union. So since I'm running out of time, let's take also the interest rates for the end. And for interest rates, if you remember, I told you in my macro course that so in general, if we are talking about interest rates of a country, then more or less at a benchmark, we use 10-year government bonds. So let's just have here to 10-year government bonds. This you also find if you look in the internet for the yield curve of your country. Let's download it. So this is 10-year government bonds. And please give me these maybe only 3 minutes. So this is then 10-year government bonds, and where were the interest rates moving? And then on the right, percentage. And well, I do not do the manipulation to 2008 now because it takes too long. So, and also maybe it's if you find really long-term data, then you are also welcome to interpret maybe at one step the very long-term data because, well, this is actually quite interesting. If we take here a perspective of almost 50 years or 50 years, then you see here this really downturn of interest rates over the last 50 years with fluctuations and this upturn here right now, which was really very, very fast and yeah, has a huge impact on our economic performance. But I think you should start around here, but there from 2008 to the actual situation, you have more or less the same pattern. Yeah, and then you should also interpret this. And what you can also do is to interpret this relative to the key interest rates of your country and therefore international comparison. This is a quite good source, but of course you will find, well, it's not copying up again, copy, and now it's working. So because now I directly got here a diagram, which now I'm just only cutting this. Well, I told you, please try to create your own diagrams, but sometimes it's not that easy to get the data. And well, then for a term paper or for a presentation, of course, it is also possible to just make copy and paste if it's more or less presented already the data like you want to have it. And yeah, if we take this and put it here in order to compare these two, oops, and if you would now compare 2008 here, so this would be then the blue line is the European key interest rates from 2008, and here are the interest rates for Germany. And then you would see that, yeah, the interest rates of Germany would have been almost always below the key interest rates of the European Central Bank. And for this, then you could interpret that maybe the yeah, interest rates of the ECB were even too high for Germany. And why were they too high for Germany? Well, directly after the financial crisis, the economic performance of Germany was really good. Remember also the development of the unemployment. But the performance of Europe overall was not that good. And therefore, we had this long-term period of zero interest rates, even in negative interest rates in Europe. But if you have a good performance, then you would expect that the central bank rises interest rates. In order, think on about the business cycle that you do not have an overheating of your economy. And all this maybe you can see in your country something different, different issues, and this you should interpret. Okay, so then I'm done for today, and hopefully I gave you some hints what you can do. And yeah, please just start with the description of the main economic indicators. And then I really think that you will find in every country some specific interesting aspects. Okay, thank you very much for today. And yeah, we almost managed it. And next week, then I will do the statistics with you, and I will do with you the time series analysis and Okun's law.